Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Tony here, and I'm going to talk about in this video that college is a scam. College is absolutely a scam. This video is for you high school kids out there who don't know what you want to do when you become an adult. This video is for you parents out there with high school age students who are thinking of sending them to college. Listen, folks, it's not worth it most of the time. Unless you're going to be a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor, usually college is not worth your time. Now, I have three main points that I'm going to say this from the standpoint of the money, from the standpoint of the experience argument, and from the learning argument. Now, I was raised in the 90s, and in the 90s, the adults around us always said, go to college so you won't flip burgers. Go to college so you don't have to work the low-wage job. Go to college so that when you graduate, you can be running the company. And I was the nerd in high school. I was the nerd that didn't have a lot of friends. I mainly sat and read most of the time. I did debate team, National Honor Society, student government. I did all of it. Chess club. I mean, anything that was nerdy and academic, you can bet that I was a part of it for the most part. So I was the 4.0 student, and despite all that, yeah, I got that was good enough to get me into college, but after I graduated from college, it didn't really turn into much. The salary that I make now is nothing near what it cost me to actually go to college. And all of that to say, it wasn't really worth it. And so if you have the option to stay home and make money on your own, that's what I would do. Now let's start with the money argument. That's the first argument I brought up. A lot of you kids in high school, you'll see these recruiters that'll come to your school and tell you, people who go to college over the course of their lifetime make $1 million more than people who didn't. That's crap. That is a lie. They are twisting those statistics to support their argument. They're not counting all the years that the recent graduate from college spent in an unpaid internship. They're not counting all the time they spent working at a fast food restaurant. How many college graduates do you know who work at Starbucks or work at the grocery store because they're not able to find a job that's suited to their major that they graduated with? So a lot of times, those statistics are just inflated. You know why? Because college is a business, folks. That college professor is not there to make you richer. That college professor is there to make himself richer, to make that provost and that dean and that school chancellor and all the people who have a stake in that college, make them richer. But you are simply a customer and nothing more. College is a business. Why do you think it costs so much to go there? I mean, think about the actual information that they give you in college. You could look it up on your own most of the time, and I'll get to that later on in the video. But college is a business first and foremost. The average degree, at least from my experience, costs over $100,000 a year. And you're lucky after you graduate to find a job that makes $30,000 or $40,000 a year. The math simply does not add up. Every year you spend in college, you're going $30,000 to $40,000 in debt and have no job. So your debt is going up and your income is staying stagnant. That equation does not work. And you think, oh, well, when I graduate, I'm going to get this awesome job. Not necessarily. You might have to work internships for several years before you build up enough of a resume to get that well-paying job. You might have to work part-time. You might have to work a low-paying job and work your way up in the company. Most of these things you could have already done without wasting your time in college. So that's from a financial standpoint. And you parents that say, well, when my kid turns 18, I want him out of the house. Listen, parents, when your kid turns 18 and goes to college and gets in debt, guess what? When he or she graduates, he's not going to be able to find a job. And so he's going to come back home for 4 more years or 4 or 5 more years until he's able to make his own living, and then he's going to leave. You might as well have just cut out the $100,000 middleman and just kept him home those 4 years so that he could work a job and save up money rather than go into debt and not have any money. So that's why it's just not worth it, parents. You parents who say, oh, when they turn 18, I can't wait to get them out of my hands. That's not a wise choice to make. Hold them until they are ready. So that's the first thing. I mean, I would say hold them until they get married, because, the scripture says that a man leaves father and mother and cleaves to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. When you have your kid just living out on their own, that leads to all sorts of problems, which leads me to my next point, the experience argument. There's a lot of people out there that'll say, I can't wait to go to college because I want the experience. Experience of what? What exactly are you waiting to experience? Oh, you want to get away from your parents so that they won't be able to make you feel bad for how many people you sleep with? Oh, you want to get away from your parents so you can experiment with drugs and with drinking? Listen, folks, that stuff is not worth it. I went to college. I saw this stuff. It is not worth it. People talk about, oh, the partying and all of that. Really, the drunken parties where people indecently expose themselves. You want to talk about parties. You know, my wife was an RA, with a residence assistant, which basically means that she was sort of the hall monitor of the dorm, if you will, and did a couple of extra duties. She was sort of almost like in high school, you have the position that's sort of like a dean. It's kind of similar to that. But anyway, my wife worked while she was in college, and we knew people that were in her dorm that, you know, one of these girls got drunk and she had some sort of alcohol related party with her friends, and while she was drunk, it dulled her senses, and her boyfriend or whoever it was, man that she brought over, actually forced himself on her, actually raped her. And after that, she was never the same. So you think you're going off for this kind of fun. It's really not. It's a lie from the devil. It's not the fun that you think it is. You may think that it's awesome. It's not. What it really is it's a dangerous environment to be in. When I went to college, I remember constantly getting emails from one of the deans at the school saying, so-and-so, we had a person who was out jogging by themselves. They got mugged. We have a student who was raped this week. We have a student. So much of this happens at college. Why? Because you take a bunch of these young people, remove them from the protection of their parents, remove them from the protection of the home, and force them to live in a monastery with a bunch of other people of God knows who. Think about it, parents. You don't know what kind of upbringing your son's roommate or your daughter's roommate has. Do you really want to chance it? Do you really want them to be around? They could have a total reprobate as a roommate who might try to take advantage of them or assault them or sexually assault them. You don't know what you're opening up your child to. You send your son off to college. You don't know what kind of whore might be out there that tries to lead your son astray. So I'm putting the blame on both genders. Just like there's the female in college who might try to take advantage of your son, parents, there's that man in college who might try to force his way on your daughter, parents. So both genders could be equally liable to damage your child. That's why that whole living away from your parents, that experience is not what it's cracked up to be. You parents need to take a more active role in protecting the safety of your children. That is your responsibility. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That's why it's so important to make sure that your family is safe. And that college experience that you think you're getting is not actually worth it. Ask people who have been to college. They know. I have friends who committed suicide, or people I knew that committed suicide in college. So the experience is not really worth it. If you have to take classes, you're better off just staying home and taking an online class or two for whatever you need. But it's just not worth it. It is a scam. And you think about how much the books cost. You're paying thousands of dollars every year for books whose information is no better explained than you could look up on the internet for free. Or you could go to the public library and check out a book for free. The college professor will always say, you need the newest edition of the textbook for the class. And I looked at the difference between the newest edition and the previous edition. All they did was change a chart or two, but it was pretty much the same information. And these books did such a poor job of explaining things to me that I even had to go to the public library and check out books for free, and that's where I got my true learning. So all that to say that you really could learn most of what you learn in college for free at the library. That college professor is not so wise that he knows everything. And there's a lot of politics involved in college too. If the essay you turn in does not fully conform to what the professor's viewpoint is, minus a certain amount of points. If you speak out against something that the college is doing, you might get kicked out. You're nothing but a customer. You think that this college is there to enrich you and make your life better. They're there to set you up for your career. No, you must set yourself up for your career. And my recommendation to do that personally is to stay home for those 4 years, work a job. Even if that's a low-wage job, you're still saving up that money. You're living under your parents' roof. They're feeding you. Save that money up so that you have the money directly for a down payment on a house. You have the money directly to buy your car. You have the money directly to buy what you need to do. You're not going through this long, confusing chain of, okay, I go to college, I'm in debt, but then I negotiate a deal with the people I owe money to that they will let me pay it back at a certain rate based on my income. And then I have to keep a job in this certain amount. And if I make too much money now, I have to start paying back loans. Don't deal with this confusing stuff. Just keep it simple. Oh, but I don't know what career I want. Work different careers. Okay, you worked a little bit in this industry. You didn't like it. Okay, quit that job and work somewhere else until you eventually find the career you want to stay in and work your way up there. Changing majors in college cost a hell of a lot more than just changing jobs without any debt. If you have no debt and you're just changing jobs, okay, you may go a week or two without a check, but you're still saving up your money. But if you have this idea where you're going to change majors, now you're in debt even more. I had coworkers. We were working the same job, making $30,000 a year, a couple years out of college. I had coworkers who, I kid you not, had over $100,000 of debt just for some bachelor's degree. And this is another lie that I want to get to. A lot of people say you need to go to the big name school. That's a lie. If you went to the small name school, you're just as graduated. People say, oh, well, no one cares about the safety school degree. That's just a scam. That's just pride. These people want to feel like they're more valuable because they graduated from a more expensive college. But it really means nothing. Last point, the learning. The learning. People say that if you go to college, you learn so much more than if you didn't. That is a lie. Some of the most skilled people I know went to a trade school or got a vocation, and they worked their way up in that. And they're the one, when you think about it, folks, when your plumbing backs up, when you need your trash removed, when you need a window repaired, when you need your car repaired, these are expensive items that you had to go to college to get a salary to be able to afford. Who comes and repairs it? Some kid who just got out of college with a degree in sociology and who's such a social justice warrior? No. You know who fixes it? The person who just went to high school and got a trade. They come and fix the stuff that actually matters. The skills that will always be valuable are usually the skills that have to do with working with your hands, folks. Now, don't get me wrong. If you need a doctor, yes, that does involve college degrees. And so that's that. I'm specifically talking about the vast majority of people. For the vast majority of people, college is not worth it. Now, when it comes to the learning, people say you learn so much in college. Not true. College basically works like this. You have 2 years worth of general education classes. These are part of your core curriculum. And then you have 2 years of specialized classes in your degree area. That together makes the 4 years of your college degree. The first 2 years of your college are spent on these general education classes. Well, guess what? These same classes are already what you already took in high school. Just a college professor is now telling it to you, not your high school teacher. Now, here's the scam in that. If these classes are required for me to even get into college, why are they making me take these classes again? They will lie to you and say, it's because we want you to be a more well-rounded individual. That is not so. It's because they want to pad the time that you spend there because they know you're paying per credit hour. It's to just squeeze 2 extra. If college was just about the specialization, just about the degree, college would only be 2 years long, and you would just spend 2 years taking the classes in your concentration. Why do you have to retake the stuff you already took in high school? Because they want your money, folks. And you don't really learn that much more. And if anything, you end up becoming less educated because now you're learning the college professor's interpretation of those events rather than the actual factual interpretation. A lot of what you learn in college is actually subjective. So that's why you're not really learning much more. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I got through college learning, I just went to the public library, checked out the book for free, or went online and learned it for free. And that's actually what gave me the information to be able to graduate. So all that to say that it's a scam, folks. If you want to make money, if you want to succeed in this life, here's my personal recommendation. Once you're done with your high school age, start working. Now, I personally would recommend homeschool, but start working, even if your job only pays $20,000 a year. Think about it. At the end of 4 years, you would have $80,000 in the bank. But at the end of 4 years, the person with the degree has $100,000 in debt. What would you rather have? $80,000 in the bank and no debt, or no job, you got to work at Starbucks anyway, and you're $100,000 in debt. The equation's pretty simple. With that $80,000, what can you do? Well, you can take half of it, that's a down payment on a home. The other half of it, that's your new vehicle and your expenses to get into your home. And then now you can just pay your mortgage. Now, hopefully in those 4 years, you've worked your way up so that you're now making a salary that can pay your mortgage. But this whole idea that just going to college is a magic wand, it is not. It is predatory lending. Think about this. Who loans hundreds of thousands of dollars to someone with no job history, and no income? A predatory lender. And that's exactly what the government does when it gives you loans to go to college. College is not worth it, folks. Work hard and make a living for yourself. I will close with what the scripture says. In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. Take care, folks. God bless.